Okay, Algebra 1 students, in this video today we're going to be looking at multiplying and dividing signed numbers. Okay, of course when I say the word signed numbers, like I've mentioned before to you, I mean positive and negative numbers. Okay, so we're going to be looking at multiplying and dividing signed numbers, or in other words, positive and negative numbers. Now this process is pretty simple, okay? I don't think anyone will have any problem understanding today's material. Here's your heading. Please copy this in your notes if you would, please. Multiplying and dividing numbers. And I'm not sure why I didn't put signed in here. Please put that in there, okay? That was just a mistake on my part. Multiplying and dividing signed numbers. Lessons 2.5 and 2.7, okay? And be sure to include today's date. Multiplying and dividing signed numbers. Lessons 2.5 and 2.7. Be sure to include today's date. Now, first, I want to make sure that everyone understands the difference between combining numbers and multiplying numbers. Here are some examples. You may write these down, or you can just watch. That is totally up to you. But it is imperative that you know the difference, because if you don't, you're going to use the combining rules when you should use the multiplying rules, and you're going to use the multiplying rules when you should use the combining rules. Okay? So watch carefully, please. Now, look at these two examples. We did not do a problem yesterday like this problem here. You say, yeah, we did, Miss Sharon. No, we didn't. We never had a number right outside the parentheses, right next to the parentheses. Okay? Now, the problems we did yesterday, yes, there were some double signs like this, and I taught you what to do. If the signs are different, then you combine them down to one sign, a negative sign. Do you not see how all the numbers here are either in positive or negative? There's no multiplication anywhere. So all you would do is use the combining rules that I taught you yesterday. Remember, add up all of your debt, all of your negatives. Add up all of your positive numbers, all the money in your wallet. Now you owe me $13. You pay off $7. You still owe me $6. Okay, that's combining. Now, in this example over here, I have some multiplication worked in. Do you not see how this is multiplication right here? Do you see how the number's right next to the parentheses? So I would bring down my positive 2. Got it? Bring down, oh look, I've got a double sign here. The 8 has 2 signs. So whenever the signs are the same, negative, negative, you combine them into a positive. Bring down your positive 6. And just like I've taught you with order of operations, you do your multiplying first. You have a positive 3, negative 15, negative 5, so negative 15, we'll get to that later. And then of course, look now, all that you have left is to combine these numbers. So do you see the difference whenever there's a number right next to the parentheses like this? That's when we're talking about multiplication, okay? Here's another example. If it looks like this, do you see the difference between that and the difference between this? Here I have, remember we don't say 5 minus 6, we say I have a positive 5 and a negative 6. Over here I have 5 times a negative 6. Make sure you understand the difference between these two, okay? Alright, moving on. Hopefully that will help clear up any confusion, okay? But as we do more of these, you'll become more comfortable with seeing the difference. Now, there are rules for multiplying and dividing signed numbers, okay? Here they are. They are so very, very simple and easy to learn, okay? Please copy this in your notes. If you multiply a positive times a positive, you get a positive. If you multiply a negative times a negative, you get a positive. So easy. If you multiply a positive times a negative, you get a negative. And if you multiply a negative times a positive, you get a negative. So can I sum this up for you so easily? If the signs are the same, these rules wasn't saying it down here. These rules are for multiplying and dividing, so please take some great notes on this and write this down, okay? Can I make this so easy for you? If the signs are the same, you get out a positive. And if the signs are different, then you get out a negative answer. That's for multiplying, and that's for dividing. That is so easy, guys. Same signs, positive. Different signs, negative. That's all there is to it. Okay? I'm going to move on, so if you're still copying this down, then pause the video. Let's look at some problems, and we're finished for the day. This is a very short video, a very simple video, but yet a very important video. So here we go. Okay. Now notice here we have all multiplication. We don't have something like this. If we had that, we'd have multiplication here, but there's a plus sign here. So we'd have to kind of work everything out, bring down your -3, do your multiplication right here, and go from there. Alright, now, all that we have is multiplication. So first of all, let's figure out our sign. Are you ready? Let's figure out our sign. I have a negative times a what right here? A positive. Signs are different, so it's a negative. And then I take that negative times a negative. Signs are the same, and I get a positive. Let's go over that again. Let's figure your sign first, okay? I have a negative times a positive, right? So your signs are different. So when I multiply those two together, I get a negative. And then take that negative times a negative. The signs are the same right here. And you get a positive. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Now if I lost you there, then try it a different way. Maybe you like this better. -3 times a +4. The signs are different, so it's a negative. And 3 times 4 is what? 12. Then bring down your -2. Now I have a negative times a negative. When the signs are the same, you put a positive. 12 times 2 is 24. Either way, you get the same answer, okay? Alright, if I'm going too fast, back up and watch it again, okay? That's one of the benefits of a video class. Okay, let's watch this one now. Let's finalize our sign, okay? I have a negative times a negative. The signs are the same, so that's a positive. And then I have a positive times a negative. Signs are different, so I'm going to have a negative answer, okay? Now, 1/2 times 2, let's see. 1/2 times 2. Remember what to do from middle school. You put the 2 over a 1. 1/2 times 2 over 1. Your 2's cancel. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 over 1 is 1. So 1/2 times 2 is 1 times -3 would give you, or times 3, sorry, let's just go across, sorry about that. 1/2 times 2 is 1 times 3 is 3. And there's your answer, -3. Now if you don't like to do it that way, let's do it the other way. Multiply the first two together, you get a +1. Bring down your -3. 1 times -3, -3. Either way, you get a -3. Okay, let's continue on. Now I do want to show you guys a little bit of a shortcut here, okay? Sometimes you might have a really high power, okay? Like -1 to the 13th power, whatever, something like that. -1 to the 4th power. Just take some notes on this and watch, okay? -1 to the 4th power means this. So instead of going through and saying negative times a negative is positive, positive and a negative gives you a negative, and negative times negative gives you a positive. Instead of doing all that, I want to teach you a shortcut, okay? It's really helpful. Whenever you have all multiplication, there's no combining anywhere. It's not like this. Because this here would not be all multiplication, would it? There's a positive sign thrown in here, okay? So the shortcut I'm about ready to show you would not work on an example like this because there's a positive sign thrown in here, okay? But if the problem is all multiplication like this one is, if you count up all the negative signs and it's an even amount, your answer will be positive. If you add up all of the negative signs and it's an odd amount, then your answer will be negative. Now that's a pretty good shortcut, guys. It really is. In fact, let's try that in the last problem real quick, okay? Just give me a second here. I've got to back all this up to get that back on the screen. Hold on a second. Let's try that shortcut on the last problem, okay? Alright, right here. Now, if you remember, we got out a negative for our answer, okay? Well, we have all multiplication, right? Yes, we have all multiplication. Add up your negative signs. How many negative signs do you have? 1, 2, 3. 3 is an odd number. So you know your answer is going to be negative. That's pretty fast, isn't it? Another example. Look at the first problem that we did, okay? Here's the first problem that we did, okay? Remember, our answer was positive. Don't worry about the positive sign. See this positive 4? Don't worry about it. My question is this: are we doing all multiplication? Is there all multiplication here and nothing else? Yes. Add up all of your negative signs. I have 1, 2. I have 2 negative signs. That is a what number? Even number. So I know my answer is going to be a positive answer, okay? That's a shortcut you can use if you want to, okay? Alright, now, moving on. Back to the problem we were doing. So we're looking at negative 1 to the 4th power. Alright? Which, of course, is really this. So, the slower way would be like this. Negative times a negative is positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. And negative times a negative is a positive. So my answer is going to be positive. 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1. Positive 1. And that's a great way to do it. I have no problem with that. The shortcut would be this. Do I have all multiplication? Yes, I do. Add up all of your negative signs. How many do you have? 4. That's an even number. So I know my answer is going to be positive. Positive 1. Let's move on to the next problem. Negative 1 to the 4th power. Now please don't think that this means negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Well, yes it does, Mr. Earhart. Well, no it doesn't. Please watch carefully. This problem here is different than this problem here. In this problem over here, notice I have the negative 1 in parentheses. Now what that tells me is this is really simple. It tells me this 4 right here goes to the 1 and the negative. The entire thing gets written 4 times. Okay? Like I did earlier. This problem here, the 4, only goes to the 1. So see this negative sign, you bring it down, you write the negative sign. And then you write the 1 4 times without the negative sign. Now guys, you might not like that, but that's how it is, okay? If there's no parentheses around the negative sign and the number, then the negative sign does not go with the number when it comes to the power right here, okay? So there's no parentheses. So you bring down your negative sign and then write the 1 4 times. Now, do I have all multiplication here? Yes, I do. Add up all of your negative signs. How many negative signs do you see? 1. 1 is a what number? Odd number. So you got a negative answer. So your answer will be negative 1. Now if you want to do it the slower way, that's fine. Negative times a positive is negative. Negative times a positive is negative. Negative times a positive is negative. And negative times a positive is negative. And then 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1. You still get negative 1. Okay? Alright, moving on. Here we go. Let's take a look at the next problem. Now we're getting some division. Of course, division has the exact same rules, so pretty simple. Here I have a positive divided by a negative. The signs are different. When the signs are different, we put a negative, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. I just can't make that really any more difficult than that, guys. It's pretty simple, okay? Moving on to the next problem. Here I have a negative divided by a negative. The signs are the same, so we put a what? Positive. And now let's work this out carefully. Forget the signs. Now, I don't care about the signs because I've already established that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, so I'm not worried about the signs. I'm just going to leave those alone. I'm going to put 39 over 1 divided by, now you never want to multiply or divide by a mixed number. Let me say that again. You never want to multiply or divide by a mixed number. Do not do that. Make it an improper fraction. So 4 1/3 is 13 over 3. 3 times 4 plus 1. 3 times 4 plus 1 over 3. Now, when you're dividing fractions, remember you flip the second fraction, you multiply. So let's flip 13 over 3. And now let's cross cancel. 13 goes into 39 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. 9 over 1 is 9. We already know the answer is going to be positive. So my answer is positive 9. Okay, watch that again if you need to. Okay, now we have a big one. This is called a complex fraction. A complex fraction exists when you have a fraction within a fraction. That's what we have. We have a fraction right here. And then a big fraction bar here. So first of all, let's realize that this bar right here means divide. Let's just simply rewrite the problem. Okay, all that this means right here is simply negative 1/3 divided by 4. That's all that it means, okay? So a piece of cake, no problem. Now, we have a negative being divided by a positive. The signs are different, so I know my answer is going to be negative. And now I have 1/3. I don't worry about the sign. Now I'm not worried about the sign because I already decided it's a negative answer. So now I have 1/3 divided by 4 over 1. So it's going to be 1/3 times 1/4. Change the division to multiplication. Flip the second fraction. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 4 is 12. Your answer is negative 1/12. Okay? Alright, one more problem and we're finished. So understand, students, multiplying and dividing sign numbers have the same rules. If the signs are the same, you will get out a positive answer. If the signs are different, you'll get out a negative answer. If you want to use my shortcut, if the entire problem is all multiplication and nothing else, if you have an even amount of negative signs, we don't even look at the positive signs. We don't even count the positive signs. We just add up the negative signs. If they're negative, you will get out a positive answer. And if it's an odd amount of negative signs, you will get out a negative answer. Okay? Last problem, here we go. Let's first of all rewrite this so it looks a little more student friendly, if you will. We have negative 1 divided by negative 3/4. Okay? Negative 1 divided by negative 3/4. Now first of all, my signs are the same. I'm dividing a negative by a negative, so I know my answer is going to be positive. Okay? Next, I'm not going to worry about the signs. Now I don't care about the signs because I've already established I'm going to have a negative, okay? Or a positive answer, excuse me. So now I have 1 over 1 divided by 3 over 4. Well, let's multiply and flip the second fraction. 1 over 1 times 4 over 3. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. So there's my answer. By the way, when your answer is positive, you don't have to put the positive sign if you don't want to. You can if you want to. Also, let's not forget 4/3 is the same thing as 1 1/3. I have no problem with that. I do not want this. I do not want decimals. If your problem starts out in a fraction, I want your answer to end in a fraction, okay? And that's it, guys. It's really a pretty simple lesson on multiplying and dividing sign numbers. I hope this video's been a help to you guys.